So last night, I was kindly invited to take part in a live panel discussion regarding the case of Nicola Bulley. We're going to play that for you very shortly. But before we do, a massive shout out must go to Sunny from It's a Criming Shame. That's the YouTube channel, It's a Criming Shame, along with Aspin for hosting this particular discussion. We had some really fascinating guests who took part last night. We had analysis of a crime with CD, who is ex-retired law enforcement from New York, alongside Alexa, who has over 16 years experience in criminal intelligence and behavioural analysis. Now, if you do enjoy today's video, one thing I will ask of you is if you could check down in the video description box to this video, you will see the links to the individual YouTube channels associated with this live discussion. There will be the channel for Sunny, It's a Criming Shame, Aspin's channel, along with analysis of a crime with CD. If you do enjoy the content, please do head over to their channels, show the love, subscribe to their channel, tell them that Crime Scene to Courtroom sent you over, and I'm sure they would be incredibly grateful.
And John, I want to ask you this question. I really feel like the UK is a lot tougher on the seems like the sleuths, in the sense what they call the true crime sleuths over there, than we are over here.
It's quite strange actually, because me and CD often talk about this, about the fact that, in America it's a lot freer in terms of information. Bearing in mind my channel, I started for the first 2 or 3 years just focusing on a case from 1995. So information is quite limited in this country. And then once I started looking into Delphi and other cases from the States, it's amazing how much information is actually put out there into the public domain. But I don't think we've actually had this before with any other cases in this country. It hasn't had this sort of backlash that this case seems to have gotten.
Right.
It seems like a perfect storm in a weird sort of way, almost as if the press conferences always seemed a little bit, from the police, always seemed a little bit defensive, quite arrogant in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that really got the backup of the public, to be perfectly honest. And then obviously people who are then interested, maybe they don't buy into what they're listening to, what they're hearing. So then they maybe go onto YouTube and listen to someone else talk about it who shares maybe the same ideas that they have. And I think it just created this situation where there's a lot of pressure coming down on the police. And I don't think they handled it particularly well, to be honest.
They didn't.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely.
And John, what do you think attributed to that? Because I noticed that as well. Other than Madeleine McCann, I can't remember a private citizen in the UK that in recent history that's really garnered this much global attention. Do you think the police do you think it's because they're more rural, or do you think it would have been viewed differently if these were London police? Or
I think that's a really interesting point. As you were saying that, that's one of the things that crossed my mind, is that you had not so much in terms of the police force themselves, but maybe the fact that we had this investigation going on, and then you had people from outside the area who were turning up there, breaking into buildings, causing criminal damage. And I think that caused a bit of pressure on the police on top of the ongoing investigation. But I think one of the things that sticks in my mind is the sort of cryptic, I wouldn't say cryptic, but just the weird sort of terminology that they were using during these press conferences. They would say stuff along the lines of, tragically, we believe, and then they would say, this is a missing person. It's none of it seemed to make much sense compared to what you would normally expect to hear in those sort of press conferences. It was a little bit disjointed, I think.
I agree. Go ahead, Alexa. What your thoughts are?
No, I agree. I was actually, watching the conferences, and I was also thinking the same. The language they were using, it's almost like they kind of knew, they knew what the case. It's almost, I don't know how can I say? It's almost like they had interest in the case, but they didn't. You know what I mean?
Tunnel vision, though.
Yes, and it was almost like, yes, they knew, and I guess because they knew more and they had more background that that everybody knew. But I think what really killed it is when they came out and they said those private things about her, and they totally put the investigation in a different. They gave the investigation a different.
They made it work.
Well,
they wanted the quiet people.
When they said,
they wanted the quiet, the pitchfork holders,
Yeah, I guess so. That was just, and I guess it's different because also they have, you guys have different customs, and you guys have different I guess, standards than we do. And, so we also have to read into that. So I thought it was my imagination. I thought that was, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm taking it personal. So it's interesting that you guys saw it the same way that we did.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that concerned me, and I think would concern most people, is that immediately they put all their eggs into one basket. There was no sealing off of the crime scene. There was absolutely zero in terms of treating this.
They never sealed it.
That's what bothered me, that they never made it a crime scene.
And then,
not even the bench.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then from there, they would then continue to push she's fallen into the river. But at that point, they can't really say anything else because they haven't even protected, they have to carry on with that, don't they? And I think that's what people realised. And the longer it went on, the more people were saying, well, hang on a minute, are you just saying this because you didn't take the necessary precautions in the first instance? Mm-hmm. Or do you genuinely believe this, that she has fallen into the river?
Right. I felt like personally, their messaging all along came across as very arrogant in a way. Like there was a harsh strike of arrogance to everything they released without then any provocation of being able to ask questions, because if you asked questions then you were tampering with, or you were they don't want questions. They haven't wanted questions from the beginning. It doesn't make sense. And I know it's a different country, but it's just I don't know. That would not be the way a case would go in the U.S. Even in different states. That silence leads to speculation, and when you have this definitive line with answering, but nothing that really makes sense. Of course, it's going to lead to speculation. And I think that's part of what made this case more complicated than it probably should have been or was.
Okay,
yeah.
Give me one.
Yeah, go on.
One sec, guys. No, I just quickly want to thank Miss Dog Lover for gifting.
Okay. It's a dance party here, John. I told you. It gets a little wild. We might be ordering tacos soon. You never know.
Now, don't forget that anyone that has a gift, right? Anyone should know this by now, that you have to click on to accept gift memberships from this channel. So let me just quickly give a shout out, because
Miss Dog, you're a better person than me, because you know what happened when I gifted memberships. I was harassed for 2 hours.
Well, so Grandma Watches got a gift, one. Triple D's got one. Cheryl got one. Diane got one.
He's crying got one. Because he knows.
1 second. And then Posh, and then Bub's Baby, and then I think I can't see who else.
That's my favorite Spice Girl.
Okay, so I'm all blurry.
Sonny, highlight John Cook's question, or Aspen if you can.
I have no capabilities tonight. I'm on the back end here, like a guest.
Yeah, I know, because you were late as usual.
Yeah.
I'd love to throw you under the bus. John, what do you think about that question? It's a good question.
Yeah, I was going to answer it. Well, apparently, where her body was found. Apparently, that's not actually where it was initially spotted. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard from that. The guy who found her, the psychic guy. He said that he followed the body quarter of a mile downstream.
Oh wow!
Well, because it turned into a floater. I mean, that does happen.
And then it rested where it did by that tree. So that wasn't where
it probably got stuck against it, right?
Yeah, but
I've seen some floaters and they're bad.
What makes that strange, though, is, and obviously that's bringing it further back towards the bench area where it was discovered, and you just think to yourself, Karen.
How soon was the first diver in there? That professional diver? That's
within 3 hours, about 3 or 4 hours.
That's what's very confusing. Because the body's not going to travel that far. It's going to usually drop down. It's going to move with the current, but it's really going to go straight down at first.
Especially when you're wearing a
he found nothing.
No. And the problem is that where she fell in was relatively flat. There's hardly any movement at all at that section where her items were found.
It looks like a stream in that spot. It doesn't really move. A pond. No, exactly. It looks more like a pond in that spot.
A pond. Yeah.
Right.
Do you think she was caught in the weir? Anybody here? Do you think that they missed her in the weir? No?
What the hell's the weir?
I don't. The bit where like the
Canadian term? What's the weir?
You know, like where the water rushes over the edge of, you know, it sort of picks up some speed, sort of rushes over like a ledge.
Like the current? Current?
Yeah.
Never heard the weir. It's a new term for me.
It crests the ridge.
Yeah.
Ridge.
It's called a weir.
Wow, we're really getting technical here tonight. All right. I'm going to call in some NYPD divers and find out these terms you're using. Very confused by this, I got to be honest. Sonny pulled that one out. I was very taken back. The weir.
That's what we call it. It's called a weir when it's kind of like it's flowing.
Deb said, "Is it like the dam?" Deb, that might be what it is. You might be right. It might be the dam portion where it stops the water. She might be right. That might be what you're trying to get to.
Yeah,
never heard weir before.
We're talking about the UK, so we're using UK terms.
Yeah, I guess so. I gotta get the thesaurus out here.
John, am I correct about that? Is that it?
I'm gonna break out a US to UK thesaurus.
Correct.
Well, I seen a lot of UK people use the word too, weir, and I was like, yeah, that's what we call it, weir. And my husband, he's from the UK, so he'd be like, English is the correct way, no matter what. Whatever John says is correct, the proper way.
Oh, we're really jamming tonight. I like it.
That's still on those memberships. That's why I keep muting myself, because it will go off for each one.
That's all right.
So go ahead. I'm just going to mute myself for a sec. So carry on.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, I mean, I didn't cover this case for the first maybe 3 or 4 days of the investigation, because I just thought to myself, well, the police must know what they're talking about here. This lady's going to be found within a couple of days. Right. And then it sort of got to about the 4th or 5th day, and I started looking into it and realising that they didn't have CCTV coverage of her on her walk, even though they haven't come out and said that.
You send me stuff quick. It was only a few days. You were sending me stuff.
I know.
Quick.
Yeah, well, I just started going through all of the forums and stuff and looking at what other people were thinking and what they were saying, and then going back through all the articles and then looking at where they were saying that they've got blind spots here, blind spots there. And it started to get really odd and strange, like with the press conferences, because they kept saying, oh, we've got CCTV coverage here, like Rowan Water, Allotment Lane, like places that you would never expect to see her on that walk. Mm-hmm. And they kept overselling the fact that they have got CCTV in pretty irrelevant places, to be honest, but they didn't have CCTV of the one place where she always starts and exits her walk. And then they started asking for dash cam footage from the incorrect road for literally the entirety of the investigation, which was an absolute shambles, to be honest. So
strange. It's just, I mean, there's times where, you make mistakes in law enforcement. This is more of like, to me, it's like roadblocks. Like they don't want the questions. They're giving pieces. And I know it's different than here. I mean, here, a lot is given out in the beginning. I mean, people here think that it's not. But they should compare it to this case and understand that in the U.S., you get a lot more information on cases right up front.
But the thing that puzzles me a little bit, though, is the fact that, even in this country, with missing people, they have like some sort of official, pamphlet done or leaflet to hand out, or the police take control of that. But in this situation, it was like residents were standing out there with boards. Have you seen this woman? The police just took a complete step back from it. And usually,
because they had tunnel vision, they felt this is what it is, and that's it. And that's the worst thing you could do.
Usually, with missing people cases in this country, you don't get a restriction in terms of information being released. So it doesn't really make much sense for them to have kept back anything. If they genuinely thought that she was a missing person and nothing untoward happened, then I don't really see what purpose it served to hold back anything. Really, to be honest, if they genuinely thought that.
Absolutely. And if they
do, they feel it's a closed case on their end, no?
Oh yeah, but I think the worst part is that about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago now, the crime commissioner for Lancashire said, "Oh, we're going to send this case to the College of Policing to make sure it's all done properly." And then he chucked in there, "Well, yeah, the police were right all the way along, and we haven't even had the cause of death yet. Like how the hell?" Yeah.
What is that going to do? Sending it to the college or whatever? That's just for maybe procedure in the future. That's not opening the investigation back up.
No. It's just the sort of overconfidence, like people are really people are very skeptical about this case, and for someone who's even higher up than the people who are at the press conferences to say, well, actually, it was the narrative that got lost here, and the police were in the right all the way along because she was found in the water, yet we don't have a cause of death. That's a bit presumptuous,
Yeah, true. It's very true.
Just give some kudos here.
Miss Dog Lover Super Chat. £4.
So, John, what is Paula saying right there about there's CCTV footage of the other people, like the lady in the red jacket? How did they have footage of her, but they don't have it of Nicola Bulley?
Oh, that's such an interesting point, because I want to try and convey this in a video, but I haven't been able to try and work out what I mean myself. But what's going on in my mind is that I'm thinking to myself, well, surely they wanted to speak to this woman with the red jacket. So surely they believed that she must or could have seen her at a certain time, but she wasn't there because the woman with the red jacket didn't see her by all accounts. So that makes me, it just seems a little bit weird. Like maybe the timeline's off or something. It's a bit strange because they definitely believe that woman with the red jacket should have seen her, but for whatever reason, she didn't.
Now, Sonny, we talked about this last night in Messenger about the dog right there. That's the guy's dog, right?
Well,
the guy with the turkey gobbler.
Yeah, this guy's
the hanging deal off his neck.
You're right. Her name is Christine Bowman, which is in the papers. And then the husband, like he looks. I don't want to confirm this though, but he does look a lot like Roger, but he does look a lot like him, but I'm not so sure. But regardless, so let's just hypothetically say that Ron's real name isn't Ron, and perhaps it's the husband to Christine Bowman, who looks a lot like Ron.
Let me tell you something. That nose is it's a very distinct nose, and it's identical.
Callie, Super Chat, $9.99.
Thank you, Callie. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. It's very nice.
Swim rock.
I will show
Sonny
you.
put a great panel together.
Yeah, this is going to be a great one, guys. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys. Okay, that's probably not the best picture here. Did I have? I think I used that one. Let me go. Hold on. Let me remove this one, and then we're going to go back to this one.
Look at that neck, man. You got a pack of Walters under there.
Okay, so this would be Michael Bowman. Okay, so Michael
John,
Bowman.
Look at that nose. It's an identical schnoz.
It is an identical schnoz, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe
you know how old is
the way the nostrils are and everything. It's a pretty identical.
What'd you say, Alexa?
No, I was asking Sonny. Do you know how long the picture to the right with the white shirt? Is it a recent picture?
It's a
the
couple
right
years
picture's no, but the one on the right is recent. The one on the left is not.
It's
correct.
Okay.
The one on the right is the one from the interview.
Yes,
which
the one on the left
Ron.
is probably a few years prior.
Mm-hmm. So basically,
he was younger in the left picture.
A little bit, exactly. So Ron basically, basically gave Penny's name out to the public. Penny from the Caravan, Caravan Penny.
Mm-hmm.
I call her Bullhorn Caravan Penny there. But anyways, so of course, I find it all very confusing. This whole witness thing, to be honest with you, because
there's a lot confusing.
Go ahead, Lucidi. You say. Go ahead.
Well, no, but you also not even just him. You had reports of two guys that were wearing masks that were near a fishing spot with a van. There's a lot of weird pieces, and they're not giving anything on it. They want to just open and close this as she had issues and she took herself out. That's where they want it to be.
So, okay.
There is something that. Yeah, go on, Sonny.
No, go ahead. Go on.
I just want to try and balance this out a little bit, because obviously the one thing that I'm convinced of is that it wasn't an accident and she didn't fall in at the bench. That's the only thing that I'm convinced of. The rest of it, I'm not 100% sure. You know, we don't really know her state of mind. We don't really know if she left the area. You know, based on where she's found, it's more than likely she did at some point manage to go further downstream or walk further downstream. But what I thought is that, and I'm going to say this just to offer a balanced opinion, really. I did notice on her social media, on her work page, that she was talking about life insurance. So that made me think, clearly she's got some sort of knowledge of life insurance, maybe, you know, working as a mortgage advisor, that sort of stuff.
This is what I brought up to you a month ago, remember? I said to you, you know, that's the first thing that law enforcement is going to look at. Was a new policy added by the boyfriend? Was a policy upgraded that they already had? You know,
but they didn't
you're
have,
always
right?
going to look at that.
Insurance.
I don't know. But what the reason I say that is because if she did enter the water voluntarily, then I believe that if she has done that, then she's left the items on the bench to make it appear as though it's an accident, due to the fact that in this country, there's usually at least a 12-month delay. If someone takes their own life, there's usually a 12-month delay in a payout of life insurance.
Yeah, in the US, it's very hard to get.
You won't get paid.
So what I'm saying is if she did do this intentionally, then maybe she left the items out there on the bench to make it look like an accident, so that her partner could get paid out because he's got children. You know, that's just offering a balanced opinion, you know, rather than just a third-party situation, you know?
Well, I was going to say, let's go through the panel. Okay, so if you had to stick to one theory, in a sense, just meaning that she fell, it was an accident, that she unalived herself, that that this was for a money issue, like a money thing, or that she was abducted, because those would really be the only ones out there.
Right.
Which, John, starting with you, which is your conclusion? If you were just to hypothetically put your...
I would say I'm as close as I can be certain that it wasn't an accident by the bench. And then I would say I don't want to sit on the fence, but I would say I'm leaning more towards something happened to her rather than her choosing to do something to herself. Okay. But I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but definitely more that direction than self, you know.
Yeah. CD?
Me and John are pretty much on the same page. And that's just because we've spoken about it so much. You know, I don't feel accident is at play. You know, it's either it was intentional or there's more to the story. But I don't think this was... She went close to the water, fell in, and drowned. I don't see it. Mm-hmm. And listen, we're going to know more when they finally give us something, because was there water in her lungs? You know?
Yeah.
Did she drown? Absolutely. Was there water in her lungs? That's very important information.
Of course.
You know, was the body dumped, or did she drown in any way?
Mm-hmm. Alexa?
I think prior to listening to Paul's interview, I thought that maybe something happened to her or somebody abducted her. But when I heard what Paul said, especially that he said that morning, you know, that morning, the whole thing stood out to him, the way she was acting, the way, you know, like she had everything prepared. It wasn't as chaotic as every day. That made me wonder that maybe she had a plan. And I think maybe it was she wanted to unalive herself, and maybe she got into a psychotic episode that she wanted to unalive herself. The only thing that I go back and forth is, you know how hard, even in your limbic system, you know, is to unalive yourself on a basically shallow water.
Right. I mean, that's Virginia Woolf.
That's the only thing that it doesn't... I cannot pass it through my head. So that's the only thing that I go back and forth.
Thank you, Lisa Marie Pritchard, very much for the $10. Thank you all, you guys, for the donations coming in tonight. Great panel here tonight. Again, stoked to have all our different thoughts on this case, because it's something that you would think that should have been solved in a sense. And I'm sure that they have obviously the answers for the autopsy report. We don't get to find out for quite a while. So I want to say thank you. So Adam, your turn.
Wait, wait.
Lisa Marie Pritchard super chat. 10 Australian
Lisa, I need
dollars.
you now.
Thank you. It doesn't
Thank you,
make
Lisa
sense that there's no CCTV of Nicola that morning.
Yeah, we'll get back to that one in a sec, Lisa.
Well, I mean, my initial thought was, I just found it like really strange because like the unaliving option of the choices, I could never get myself around the fact that she brought the dog. And I understand you can really argue that with you're trying to put a rational thought into someone that might not have been having rational thoughts. And so I understand that, but I'm like, why not just leave the dog at home? I don't believe she slipped and fell. I believe if anything, if it was an accident, I believe there was a medical event that probably took place, which again, we'll find that out in the post-mortem. But I go back and forth between whether I think it was self-harm or whether I believe it was like a medical event that might have been accidental. So it depends on the day. But I do have a question for John really quick. I know, Sonny, you haven't given yours yet, but is it typical with a post-mortem that like the results wouldn't be available in the UK until like, I believe, June?
Yeah, that's quite normal. Apparently it's usually longer than that. So June, by all accounts, in terms of an inquest and all that sort of stuff, is actually fairly quick.
All right. So, and then how transparent are the results of things like that in the UK? I know I looked into a little bit of things, but like it was different, like depending on the case, I thought.
I don't think it's going to be particularly in depth. It may just list the cause of death, maybe sort of misadventure, possibly, or accidental death or something. But
okay.
I think a lot of people are even concerned, though, that something like that's going to be covered up. And I don't know if we'll ever hear an end to this. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, I surely hope we do, because you know what I mean. I mean, I really do hope that should hopefully maybe bring down that speculation. I don't think I think it will do them good if they just really simply, if it was an accident, well, I don't know. We'll see.
I can't remember the name of the guy who's actually running all of the inquest and whatnot, but I know he's highly, from what I read up on his his experience, he's very, very highly qualified. So you wouldn't expect anything, untoward to have to take place.
Right.
Yeah. So I personally have been stuck between my first instinct was that she had unalived herself, took her own life. So as the time was going on, because thanks, Miss Dog Lover.
Miss Dog Lover super chat. £1.99. Thank you. Scenes should have been sealed off. Discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as the time was going on, and like I feel like, I'm sorry again, like this happens, but I really feel like this case was terribly mishandled from the start to the finish, because they didn't finish it, somebody else did. And again, the crime scene sealed off, absolute mind-boggling to me, that you obviously would start off with doing something like that. Not just blows my mind. But anyways, so as time was going on, and then they still couldn't find her. You got this expert diver team in there. You got, all these people searching land, searching this. Can't find her whatsoever. So then I started going, well, I look at all aspects. Who doesn't, right? If you're a critical thinker, you're kind of looking at all the different things, what makes sense, the time frame of it all. And so I started thinking, well, maybe this is an abduction, and some people still will think that, themselves. I've kind of always teetered, honestly, between the unaliving herself and perhaps she tripped over her dog and bonked her head. But they said that there was no marks on the, typically if somebody falls, you would see some sort of mark. But Sally Riley made the comment that there was no marks of showing that somebody had slipped in. So, I mean, I think that everything has valid points to it, except for the people that are way out there in La La Land that, like an alien ship came down and picked her up or something. I'm not really into that. Go ahead.
I think for me, the way I look at it is that whatever's happened, it's almost like a riddle, because whatever's happened, she must have left back down the tow. The only way I can rationalise where she was found is that she went back down the towpath and crossed the road and carried on downstream. Because they didn't find her, that's the only way I can see her ending up where she is, by leaving the area, because they had such an extensive search at the start, she would have been found. So she must have, but then if she's left the area, she's walked back down the towpath, no dog walker's seen her, no one's seen her crossing the road, no one's seen her on down. So it's weird. It just doesn't make any sense. None of it does.
It makes no sense.
It's a riddle. Like meaning I was listening to your videos, John, myself, and you were, for the most part, on the same thought process, that I personally think about as well. It's kind of what I call, like I said, critical thinking. You're thinking logically, to what could possibly have happened, what makes sense and stuff like that. And it's like a riddle. And that's what's very intriguing about this case, is that it should have been simply that if they thought that she fell in the water, well, first off, and we'll get back to this conversation about that. Okay, if they believe that she was in the water right from the get-go, there would have been absolutely no need to release anything about the alcohol or the January 10th thing at all. Right. They were sloppy, they were arrogant, and they didn't do the job that they should have done for Nicola. You had search teams of experts, you had all those people looking. Again, they didn't treat the crime scene, so then it becomes too late, because now everyone's touching and this and that and everywhere. And it was just, to me, I'm just boggled by it all. But at the end of the day,
I genuinely don't think that that Lancashire police wanted. When Peter Fording went there,
right?
Yeah.
I genuinely think they were thinking to themselves, "God, I hope he doesn't find her, because that's going to make us even look." I bet they were genuinely thinking that.
Absolutely.
I really do. And that's why they didn't tell him about her potential issues, which he said would have changed his search strategy potentially. And I think that they didn't want him to find her, Yeah.
Right. Do you feel bad for Peter Falding that they literally, it's what's her name? I can't think of her name now. She was on Grizzly True Crime, and she called it a SPOB, basically.
Oh, Laura, someone.
Right. From that analyst.
Crime analyst.
Yeah. And so do you feel badly for him that they basically used him as an scapegoat to basically
To be honest, I actually do. And I know it's pretty, with the comments that I see, it's pretty split 50-50. People saying, oh, he was there to sell his book, he was there for self-promotion. But at the end of the day, the way I look at it is, clearly this guy has some experience in what he does. At the end of the day, you have to respect that, regardless of whether he found her or whether he didn't. He clearly has some level of experience in searching for people. And the fact that he went there, searched the very, the up and down by the bench area where you would imagine she would be, and he didn't find her, that should tell people something, I think, anyway.
Don't you? I want you to ask you guys this too as well. Don't you think here Sally Riley comes off? Our hypothesis is, the water thing the most, right? Meanwhile, they got nothing to show for it. We don't got no evidence. We got no CCTV cameras. We don't got any of this stuff. But hey, you guys, trust me when we say this. She fell in and it was an accident. And then she still kept claiming that. But the thing is that there was nothing to give the public to say, hey, we have a piece of clothing, we have this, we got nothing. All they have is her phone turned up that's in a call and a dog leash and the dog running, around basically. The older guy said it was to the style, but go ahead.
I think what got people's backs up is the fact that it wouldn't be so bad if they said, look, we genuinely believe that she's fallen into the river. But then from there, they then said, only pass us factual information, almost as if they were saying that we don't want tips about things you might have believed happened. We only want factual information, which is a little bit odd because you wouldn't know if it's factual at the time when you're giving the information anyway, would you?
Yeah.
And then it was like, we don't want people to speculate about what's happened to her, when the whole entire time we're speculating, but you're not allowed to because it hurts the family and stuff like that. Just horrible little additional bits they put into their press conference, which I just think genuinely got people's backs up.
Well, and even when they came out with the information about the perimenopause and the alcoholism, I mean, they were like, "Oh, the family wanted it out," and I'm like, "Well, by all accounts, like, I mean, I think it's reasonable that the only reason that anyone decided they wanted that out was because there were people threatening to put it out, regardless, and so it's better to get ahead of something like that." But I'm like, I thought law enforcement, when they they were like, "Well, it wasn't us. The family wanted it out." I mean, I felt like it was another example of arrogance,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and they didn't like it though, did they? Every press conference, they were very, very, very defensive, very, very defensive. And I think Sonny said arrogant. That's the best way I can describe it. Arrogant and defensive.
Right. And I think they jumped immediately on the attack with, the amateur sleuths and the TikTokers. It was like from day one, they were like the TikTokers and the, almost like the UK doesn't have a reputation for paparazzi. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's hear from Alexa over there.
Yeah.
Alexa.
No, I mean, I agree with, I agree with most of the things that you guys are saying. The only thing I have to say is, I mean, sometimes police, I know CD's not here right now, he's with his kids, but I mean, sometimes police do know more information that sometimes they can't say it. So when you get an investigation or you get a case, you know more information that, the regular citizen doesn't know. And sometimes, you're not going to say it because you have to keep it to yourself for the investigation. So I did give them a little benefit of the doubt that maybe they knew. But the only thing that I was a little contradicted is they were saying that she was in the water. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe they knew. I mean, we don't know if Paul got into a fight with her the day before. We don't know anything, anything. So it could be, maybe. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, so they're saying that she fell in the water. So why not keep searching in the water? If I know that I lost something in this place, I keep looking until I find it. So I just find it odd that they didn't look, they didn't keep looking in the water. It's almost like they were saying, yeah, she's there, but you know what? We're going to say that she's menopausal and, she drinks just in case she's somewhere else and she was able to walk away from, it's almost like you guys were saying, covering their backs. And I really didn't appreciate that. But then again, I took it because I never really follow a case. I have seen cases from the UK, old cases. I never really follow as it's unfolding. And I took it as it's almost like because we're different countries and the language and everything. I was like, maybe it's me. And I was saying, I took it as maybe it was lost in translation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I realized that, they were being like that. They were being, they were being secretive. They were being, they weren't telling the people. They were saying, I think that menopausal and the alcoholism, I think that was a cheap shot. I think that was just a way of covering their backs. And they never should have.
They never should have. They never, even if the family asked them to, they're the pros, they're the experts. Use your brains, people. That should have just been simply stated vulnerabilities or mental health issues at best,
That's
But
exactly
go ahead, John.
The problem is that they said, the last press conference with Rebecca, what's her name, Rebecca Smith and that other guy, when they got towards the end of the press conference, they said, we have released a lot more information in this press conference about specific vulnerabilities. And when I was thinking, you haven't released any. This was at this point in time. I was thinking, you haven't released anything new, nothing at all. And then, but why even say that? Why even mention it if you're not actually going to bring out the information? Because then obviously what happened, and then they had to release the information anyway. They shouldn't have even mentioned it if they weren't going to bring it out there and then, really.
I agree.
Now, I want to say this too, and I want to say hi to Daniel. Hey, Daniel from the Drunk Turkey Show. How are you, buddy? But I want to say this too, because you have Paul, and then saying that the family agrees that they do not believe that she is in the water. Now, not only on top of that, then you have the family interview going, Nicola, Nicola, if you're out there, we just want you to know we love you. And this, meaning they're showing all signs by saying certain things, remember? Just like the fact, you guys, and this is just, again, thoughts, but just like when Paul said, everything was pretty much normal, except everything when I came downstairs is normally, more chaotic and, or whatever the word it was used. But today I come down and everything's ready. So you have the family, and I did that, I think, in the video to kind of show you guys, like, meaning this is why people in the part 2 of Nicola Bulley case is to basically show why this speculation's happening, because they keep going on about a working hypothesis that she fell in, but yet the family is saying this stuff. Then they release that stuff, and you're just like, are you serious? So you mean, now you're going to cordon it off like 7 days after the fact?
I'd like Alexa's view on this, if she could give it, if possible. With the family coming out, especially Paul said, we don't believe she's fallen into the river. I mean, do you find that's quite normal for families who are going through that to I guess, err on the side of optimism? Or do you genuinely think that they're thinking, hang on a minute, no, she can't be in there. They've searched and something else has taken place?
I mean, honestly, when I saw Paul for the first time, I saw him, I was like, he looked at me suspicious, to be honest with you. And I was like, I'm a little suspicious. When I watched the second interview, I was like, no, I completely noticed that, it's totally a fellow error. It was me that I didn't like him and I was putting things in my head. But I think he wanted to have hope. I think to me, he always looked angry. Like in all the interviews, he always gave anger to me. And it was almost like he was angry, and I never realized, was it angry because she was missing, or was it angry because maybe he felt guilty that maybe this is why she's missing? I couldn't put one and one together still until this day. I'm thinking what could have been, right. But I think he was just trying to stay positive, yeah. And from the mouth out. But I think he knew that she wasn't coming back. And I mean, the one thing that caught my eye is when he said that morning things, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's almost like it felt different.
Typically, everything was chaos, and that morning everything was
everything was not chaotic. And I'm thinking to myself, for a man to actually notice, because I mean, if you ask my husband or anything, my everyday, you guys don't notice that. So what was the thing that really stood up? It had to be something big for him to remember, wait a second, this really stood out for me. So I think he was just saying that to be positive, but I think he knew that he was never going to see her again.
And when people are in that situation, do you find that's quite normal to err on the side of optimism?
Yes. Yeah. No. Yes, I do. No, I do think so.
Depends. It does depend on
that person.
The reaction from family when something like this going on, one extreme to the other. You never know what you're going to get.
But I think it didn't catch my eye, because I think it's something normal that they do. I mean, like you say, Steve, some people do, some people don't. That's why I didn't find it odd. Right. But I
find them odd. I still do. I still find them odd.
You think so?
Yeah. I just a little bit.
Who, the husband?
The husband. Well, I don't think they're married, right?
Oh, well, I call it the husband.
I get it. I don't know. There's something a little peculiar about him.
You know what?
And listen, he's going through a tragic event. That could be it, but I don't know. Something
I think he's one of those people that you don't like, because I think he might be shading other ways. And I tell you, if you look it up, it's called the Othello error. And in human behavior, we study that. And sometimes when you have this position about somebody that you don't like, you're going to say, even if they're not guilty, you're going to say that person is guilty. So and I think it has to do a lot with the Othello error. And with Paul,
it's just his behavior. His behavior is a little bit odd.
I know he's smiling.
He's trying to be positive for his kids. I understand that, but there's just something that's not something's up.
But to me, it didn't stand. It didn't stand. I mean, I get it. He's smiling. He's moving, but nothing. Like, I was watching him, and I really watch him over and over, and I don't think he was lying. I don't think there was any deception, and his baseline always stayed the same. He wasn't nervous. When they asked questions.
When somebody is getting to a point where they're going to do that to themselves, they're not orderly. They're not, the house isn't in order. The morning doesn't go as planned, and over and beyond, even better than a normal day.
Some do. I know
usually
people that
you're seeing black. You're not seeing right, and you're just not in the right frame of mind.
But I'm thinking,
not like it just clicks.
Could it have that maybe it was like a psychotic episode that she had? That everything was okay?
Absolutely could be, but you're not going to be, I don't know.
I mean, I think
I've seen people on the verge and we got there and saved them, and I've seen the after effect. Usually there's signs.
There signs, yeah.
And there's no sign. There was no sign here of that. I mean, yeah, alcoholism, okay, but that has nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? She wasn't bombed that morning. You know, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that she took herself out, but it could be. It could be, but I don't know. Just hearing that she dropped the kids at school and had conversation with other parents, it just I don't know. It doesn't.
And that shows that she wasn't drunk.
Smell test. Yeah, doesn't pass the smell test. I don't know. Something's there.
You guys, I want to do a quick poll with the people that are in chat, because there's a lot of people in chat right now. And I just want to ask you guys. Okay, actually, you know what, John? If you had to, in the chat here tonight, if you wanted to kind of do a 1 for something or 2 for something or whatever, like a little poll, for instance, what would your one question be that you would kind of see where people sided with? Anything?
I think it probably be the most obvious one, to be perfectly honest. Do you believe this was, her choice, self-fate, whatever you wish to call it, or a criminal act against her?
Okay, so accident.
However you want. No, definitely not accident. Either that she went into the river voluntarily, or something terrible happened to her that caused to her.
So 1 for voluntarily, that she did something voluntarily, or 2 that something, whether it was
third party involvement. Yeah,
third party involvement. So 1 voluntary, 2 for third party involvement. And thank you guys again for coming into chat. I just want to stop this right there just to remind everyone. So we're welcoming, of course, a crime scene to courtroom here for this first time on this channel. We know about that channel, well, because I know his videos, but because of CD over here, and he was John has been gracious enough to join us tonight with CD, who is a retired police officer, and Alexa, who is Alexa. Say your title again properly.
Which one? Crime and intelligence behavioral analyst. That's
Thank you.
And a graphologist.
Yeah,
so I do graphology.
Absolutely. She's done whenever there's been a letter with a case with Delphi, with Brian Koberger and stuff like that. Again, Alexa, analyzes body language as well as handwriting expert, as well, of course, has been in the criminology side of things for being a profiler. So I just want to let everyone know that is watching. If you guys, again, could give this channel a thumbs up and a like for everyone that's on this panel tonight. This is a great live going on. And so did people answer? So 1 or 2? Okay, so most people, are feeling 2. I should have put that as a poll. Sorry, guys. I was racing around. Me and John, I think, did anybody else have to get a nap in today? A little
I did.
I wish I could.
I did. Yeah, accident. Okay, so Turkey's going to say accident. I'm kind of torn between that.
What was true? Accident? I'm sorry, my brain is.
Third party.
He only gave really 2 options, but some people will still put an accident if they feel it was basically voluntarily or third party involvement. Which right from the beginning they said no, but they didn't. Like I said, we can just look at it and go, oh really? So they were sweating bricks. That they were sweating bricks. But Adam, I know you were going to say something earlier.
What's that?
Yeah, you were, but okay. So let's go to.
Want to say hi?
Do you want to come say hi? Who wants to say hi?
She's always next to me. Come here, I'll move the cord. Here, come on. Ups. Okay, there she comes. There she is. All right.
Alexa, if you had to ask everyone that's in chat something, what would your one question be? Like how
I would ask about Paul, because I think that's the one that people always. So I would say, Paul, do people think that he is involved, or do you think that? Oh, yeah, I guess. Do you think he's involved in a way, or not?
Yeah. Okay. So 1 for involved for Paul. So was Paul? Do you guys think involved? and two, if you guys don't think he is.
Can I take the unpopular opinion there?
Yeah.
Because I have never suspected Paul of anything, and I don't think you have either, Sonny.
I haven't either, actually.
I get that that's probably unpopular. I just have to follow my gut with it, which just told me from the get-go.
Yeah.
Any mixed emotion I see on the guy's face, I feel is warranted, because if I'm at home with two little girls, and for whatever reason my partner's not there to get those girls to bed, I'm gonna feel a mix of sadness, anger. I mean, every emotion that comes on. And maybe I'm idealistic, but I've not suspected Paul. And but I do respect people and understand where people are coming from when they say they do.
Adam, your little connection's having some issues going on there, bud. You're coming in very crackly. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and click it.
Okay. And CD.
Paul said in the chat something about Paul said something in the chat that this Paul isn't I guess something about his businesses aren't doing well. Does anybody know what his businesses are? What are they?
Is it engineering, is it?
Yeah.
He works in engineering. There was about 4 companies. I mean, I had looked into him when Psychic Sleuth was talking about certain things about this, because all you had to do was really Google Paul Ansel's name, and then like the businesses come up. And honestly, I can't think of them because that was about a month or about 3 weeks ago or something. So he had 2 businesses that it was showing as active and 2 that were inactive. But he at the time of this all happening, he was, obviously an engineer working for a U.S. based company. So they both worked from home. But yeah, so I mean, Nicola's name was on. I can't remember, like one for sure. I'd have to look back, as they were half and half shares. I'd have to look back.
But they were having weren't they having some financial trouble? Or at least he was. I think he had to bankrupt 1 or 2 companies.
Unless somebody in chat knows a little bit more about that exactly. Psychic Sleuth actually knew more about that.
I remember right, yeah. One or 2 companies he had to bankrupt.
Well,
he had to close.
Well, I was going to say, like, to me, he's like, how he made the comment about himself that a lot of times he's too laid back and stuff like that. Like when the interviewer asked if, if she comes back, basically, are you going to marry her? Like talking about putting a freaking knife in the guy as he's sitting there, though. But anyways, so I think he's one of those people that probably is laid back, and he probably doesn't know how to get his crap together, is what he comes across to me. So it wouldn't shock me that he kind of has businesses and then they don't work out, and he starts another, doesn't work out, starts another. But I don't know how long he's been an engineer for. He has massive debts. Kat is saying, let's bring Adam back. 2 of his businesses have been closed, correct. His previous one will dissolve this year. That's correct. That's right, Bridget. You're bringing back some memory on this stuff. Glenny's the GoFundMe page. Yeah, I see that the GoFundMe, I think it was at like 38 from when I looked at it the other day, 38K about. So sorry, CD. CD, did you have a kind of a poll to anybody out there that you wanted to ask?
Say that again?
Did you have kind of like a question, like a poll that you wanted to ask anyone? Like, kind of like a 1 or 2 answer or whatever, however you want to do it. Did you have any question that you kind of thought that you wanted to?
I mean, the one you covered was basically, I think, important. I mean, question, if you want to ask, do people think that there's going to be water in their lungs with the autopsy? I mean, that's...
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's important. I mean, that's good. That tells the whole story right there. Did she drown in the water by herself or by something else? And I just think there's more to the story. Just from the beginning, the way it was handled wasn't correct. You don't treat it as a crime scene at all. I mean, It's just not how it would go down here.
That was a big no-no.
Right.
Because they didn't know at that point, when they got there, they didn't know what it was, what it turned into. So the first thing you do is you secure your area. You make sure that everything stays.
Lock the scene down.
Lock the scene down. Lock it down. Yeah, at least that area.
You should be searching right by the water. Footprints. I mean, UK gets a lot of rain. The ground there looked like it was wet, where you would see footprints or whatnot. You would have some kind of idea. Was only her footprints going to the water? Were any footprints going in the water? Was there boot prints there? I don't know. It's just a fumble to me from the beginning.
Right.
Well, why do you guys think? I mean, there's so many things that are running through my head. Why do you guys
There's something
think
I do want to touch upon quickly, Sonny, before you do that.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
What's quite interesting is that when they started this investigation, for the first best part of 7 days, they thought that the last place that someone saw her was on the towpath. So right. not the upper field. I don't know if you can get that map back up. You know that little map you had up a minute ago.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can get that back up.
Absolutely. Well, here.
So you can see where it says towpath there. So that's the path that goes back to the main road, basically. And for the first 7 days of the investigation, they believed that the last person to see Nicola was on the towpath at 9:15, and this was reported from the 27th to around about February the 3rd. This all goes back to the woman with the red coat again. And as soon as they found that woman with the red coat, the timeline changes completely. It goes from Nicola last being seen on the towpath at 9:15 by a man walking a dog, don't know who he is, to being on the upper field around 9:10. Completely different location, like up where it says last sighting of Nicola. So somehow she's gone from the
5 minutes.
Yeah. So somehow she's gone from the first week of the investigation being on the towpath to being up on the upper field. So I don't know what changed that.
Right. Well, I always have it in my head that Ron's the 70-year-old guy with the dog. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Because it's driving me crazy, those two witnesses. Because the one with the pram, the lady with the pram, was going, this lady here was like going in different direction. Like, so she, and same with the red lady in a sense, like she's deemed as seen nothing. They talked to her already. They didn't know why. She said she didn't know why they were talking to her again. And then, like I said, you have this lady, but what confuses me is, and you know what, can we just play it for a second, Ron's interview?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, give me a second. Let me just bring that back up. Oops, who's messaged me there? Okay, let me just find that one. I got a few different ones. Okay, this is it here. Let me just, give me a second, guys. Okay, it's 2 minutes and 24 seconds. If you guys can bear with us for a moment, and we'll share screen. And
I love the awkward transition in this video when they and by the way, here he is.
Okay, wait, before we get started, I want to quickly ask you guys, how funny was it that they panned over to Ron and then it's like, oh, sir, aren't you the one? Like, did you guys not feel that weird vibe for a second there?
That was a little bit odd. Yeah.
It was almost like, you stay over there, like we're going to talk to you, but you and the dog and, oh, sir, it was so weird. And the way he was so close to him when he was going to brush by him. But anyways, let's watch it.
Yeah.
It was just weird. Okay.
I haven't seen this one.
Did I make it big? There we go.
Morning, sir.
Come on
Fine,
through.
do come
How
through.
are you?
No, not at all.
Good to see you.
You live here.
Well, it has been like that. So you actually saw the phone, is that right? Yeah. You saw the phone that Friday morning?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was around, was it after 9:30?
I gave a full statement to the police with the exact time because my wife's telephone call had at the time on it. So, but I've given a full statement.
Yeah.
Was it just on the bench, or was it just on the bench?
The phone?
Yeah.
How's the last 3 weeks been?
Each day something new comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But,
And in terms of, you know, when you saw Phone, Lead, and Willow, who you knew who Nicola was.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you knew Willow. That was it, wasn't it? You knew you knew Willow.
I knew I'd seen both the owners of Willow walking this dog in the past. But whilst I knew them by face, like I know your face, I didn't know the name.
Yeah. But I remember you actually telling me when you saw the Phone, the Lead, and Willow, you were like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on it because something doesn't feel right.
I thought somebody had gone to the toilet in the. You know, that would have been my first. I got to about this red brick building here, and I thought this is not right. And then there was a conversation. But my wife was trying to ring me. I was trying to ring her. Penny had rung my wife. To say that she'd fastened the dog up that was.
And Penny was the lady who actually spotted Willow initially and saw the Phone, but didn't know what was going on with the Phone.
That's right.
Yeah. And then after that, you know. What happened?
Well,
what were the next steps?
It was just a progression of things happening. You know, we found out because of the wallpaper on the phone. We found out who the couple were. Then the school was contacted, and Paul arrived.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll let you carry on with your walk. I know you do this every morning.
Yes.
Nicola did this almost every morning as well.
Probably,
We're retracing those steps this time 3 weeks ago. So an important.
I know.
Juncture. Thank you very much. Take care. All the best.
You.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We've lost them all. They've all gone.
Yeah, they're all taking a break. Okay, so do you guys remember though? You know, Paul saying he distinctly said, you know, everyone knows and knew everyone, and if somebody's there at the dog park, then they stand out like a sore thumb. And then at the end there, Ron goes, "Yeah, probably." Well, they're there all the time. What do you mean? Yeah, probably. I found it just all. It just seemed like such a strange thing. So my wife called, you know, on the meeting, and they did it, and then Penny, Penny called my wife, and the time the dog I got, and I started going, wait, so who was actually there? Because then we heard of Anne Marie, and it was said, and I read it in an article. So some are saying that Ron found the phone first. Some are saying that it was Penny. Some are saying that, you know, well, in the article it says Penny said that she had to go because she had an appointment. So why would you just come and then have to leave right away? So what are your guys' thoughts with this whole witness?
I think the strangest part for me is the fact that he says, I got to the red brick building and I thought, oh, there's something not right here. But I'm thinking to myself, well, how did you get to the red brick building then? So you must have walked past the items to get there, or you're coming from the other direction. No, it doesn't make sense, does it? Just like what he says, he must have gone past it to get to the red brick building. He couldn't have seen them from the red brick building and thought, that's weird, because he wouldn't have known what they were. So he must have gone past them to get to the red brick building to then think to himself, something's not right. So it's almost as if he's found them. That's the way it's coming across, like the way he's describing it.
Honestly, my mind gets boggled when I'm thinking what he's saying, what, you know, with these witnesses and Penny having to leave, and then she gets home apparently and then makes phone calls, because that was said in the press conference that, you know, that she was making phone calls, and it's almost like, and I'm like, wait, I'm kind of lost, because you got Ron saying this, or Roger, or whatever his name is, and you know, I'm just like,
but is he the one? Sorry to interrupt. Is he the one that found the mobile?
Well, I thought it was always Penny up until
Penny, isn't it?
That's what I thought. Because in this interview, it almost makes it sound like he's the one. But you know, then when he says, you know, it's almost like he's lying. You can tell, you know, and the face, it's almost like he's lying.
He clearly said that he walked by, like, you know, I mean, meaning he would have to walk by it, and then he thought, there's I'm at the red bill. Oh, wait, something strange. So meaning it's not like meaning if Penny was there or something like that already, right, she would have been, saying something like, hey, Ron, blah, 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 or whatever. But instead, he walks back. So he does make it sound like he's the one that came across it first. And so now
it's very weird.
Used again. And what do you guys?
Weird.
I know that my initial take when I read the article, not the video, but when I read the article that talked about his statement to begin with, my take on it from then was that Penny came first, and that he kind of showed up around the same time that the daughter-in-law did. Because at one point during that article, there's a quote about like the other dog walkers started to show up as well. And so like the timeline to me, and Sunny, you and I talked about that. I thought that, I took that as that, Penny came first, she left, and that he kind of came about at the same time as the daughter-in-law. But it is it's definitely a little convoluted once you hear him talk about it.
And John, I want to ask you this question because I seen something on Grizzly True Crime. There was that post where it said that Gisela said that someone from Penny Fletcher's family called and said that Roger is not related, because you know how everyone's saying that he is the brother-in-law and that he married Penny's sister, but yet there's this post that I was just looking at where it said someone from the Fletcher family called and said he is of no relation. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, why is something so simple sometimes it gets so complicated? Like,
I know, but it shouldn't be complicated, should it? Really, it shouldn't. And I think that's what raises suspicion when things aren't particularly straightforward.
When they're the truth, they should be plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's their fault. It's Popo's fault over there.
Absolutely.
It was their fault. They caused it. They're the ones that started it. You don't
Anytime you muddy something like that, look, I mean, even if you look at Idaho, I mean, a lot of that's been very straightforward when it's come to like what they've released. But I mean, like, you look at like the 911 call, and that's still the part that raises so much speculation because it's been the most kind of like secretive, muddled aspect to that, and I feel like, Nicola Bulley's case has had a lot of that where, I think either silence leads to speculation or, just not being straightforward and using the guise of like having to keep things close to your vest when they're unnecessary, I think create unnecessary speculation.
So, I want to go in a few minutes here, you guys. I think there's so much I could sit here and I could sit here and talk about this case for hours, to be honest with you, with all the different, is there any? I want to go to the chat, and because a lot of them are saying things, and maybe we could answer some of what they're saying. Let's see. So Bren here saying that the red brick building was used as an observation point. Nicola was ambushed. Look at the early drone footage of the red brick building at the bottom right window. Not sure what
wasn't that building locked though? I think that building was actually locked until someone broke into it during the search effort. So yeah.
Thank you, subscriber. Let's see here. Does anybody accept the outcome of the inquest no matter what it says?
I think ultimately people are going to have to, aren't they? There's not really much choice.
Right.
There's always going to be people that no matter what, you could put evidence right in front of their face, and no matter what, there's always those ones out there regardless. I, personally, even if people flub up and make mistakes, which happens to everyone, I'm going to take it for what it says, If that's what they say, that's how it has to be left off, unless, some shadiness comes later on or something. I'm going to take it for, hopefully we get to know.
I think it'll depend on the actual outcome. If they were like, natural causes, like I might not accept that, but
I know. let's see. Penny, Penny also said in her statement that to the police that she tied up the dog, but then Ron said Penny said his wife said to tie up the dog. That's right. So it's little things. So it's little haikus that you hear.
What do you when you see that interview, Alexa? What's your initial impression of that Ron interview when you see him talking? What sort of vibe do you get from him?
At the beginning, I didn't think anything, but it just, and I asked the chat. That's why I asked the chat. I said, he looks like he's lying when he mentions the mobile. When they said the phone was the phone on the bench. And then the expression, that he makes, it's almost like, and obviously I don't know him, and you have to do it, to see that somebody's lying, you have to do a deeper analysis. But to me, it almost seems the way he presses his lips and the way physically he does it, it's almost like he's lying. And that's why I asked because I remember that it was Penny, but to me, it seems like he's lying in that part, that he was not the one who found the mobile on the bench. It was somebody else. And just that threw me off. And I was like, wow. It's almost like he wants to get the limelight. Like he wants to be like, oh, I am the one who did this. I am the one who did that. That's almost what it seems like. But I think in that particular point, I think he's lying. I think, I can see a little bit of deep, just and you can see it. You can actually physically see the way he does his mouth. He clenches his mouth like this. Almost like, when people are not talking, obviously there's a baseline and you have to be when people are being deceitful and everything.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he said something and it's almost like his own body knows it's lying and you go, like, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Especially because, yeah. And that's almost what it seems like. He said it and then he goes, and physically he goes like this.
Yeah.
Like you
tries
can
to catch himself.
Yes, exactly. Like he just, oh my God, what did I just say? So
it becomes so confusing, doesn't it, when he's trying to explain it? It's this. That's what I wanted to say, Sonny. I mean, however way you look at this, we still have to try and explain how she left the area. Because if she didn't fall in at the bench, how did she leave the area without being seen by anybody? That's the question I can't figure out. Because it's not like a 10-foot walk to the other side of the road. She'd have to go back down the towpath. And then I'm wondering, well, was that original sighting right? Was that her leaving the area with the dog behind? Is that someone who saw her and then they thought, no, she would have been somewhere else? Because I keep going back to that towpath sighting and the fact she must have left the area at some point, surely. If she was there.
And oddly enough, of course, the camera that would have seen something, of course, wasn't working.
Right.
It just never ends. It's like, and I always use that term myself, like the perfect storm, right? So it's like in a 10-minute window, according to what we're being told, that poof, there's people on the field that saw her, and like the perfect storm happens, and then, I don't even know, like the CCTV cameras, I don't know. Like it's so mind-boggling to me, and that's what is so intriguing about this case, is that it should have been like she fell in. If she fell in, they should have found her. You got experts, you got police, you got them all over looking for her, and they can't find her. And then fucking psychic media.
I think the thing for me is that even if this was an intentional act, she most likely had to have left the area. Because when you think about it, if you were going to enter the water, you wanted to do it yourself. You're not going to want to do it with dog walkers around. So you would naturally, walking further downstream makes perfect sense. Less dog walkers, quieter location, less people walking on that path. So it would make sense. Leave the dog behind so it doesn't jump in after you. But she still had to leave the area. That's what I can't understand. How could no one see her? That's what I don't understand.
Right.
Well,
it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Go ahead, CD. Go ahead, CD.
No, it just doesn't make sense how there's no CCTV footage of her anywhere.
Or dash cam footage.
All you have is that small, sample of the driveway. That's it.
Right.
Well, I seen someone say that all the schools would have CCTV cameras. So they probably do have her on, but never shared it.
But they're not going to release stuff because of the kids.
Right.
Right.
Go ahead, John.
I don't know. I think they would have blurred the kids out. I genuinely believe if they had have had something of her on CCTV, we would have seen it. Because in this country, they do release, especially with missing people, that's the first thing they do. CCTV, pictures of her on the newspaper, blah, blah, blah. But we had nothing for such a long time until the Ring doorbell footage came out, which told me they don't have anything. And if it was from the school, they would have just blurred the kids' faces out and at least shown what she was looking like, something official. But it was like, I think the police released one photo.
I agree. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I don't know. It's very odd.
That's what I was just saying, CD, is that even if this was an intentional act and she went into the river, most likely, based on where she's found and the fact they didn't find her by the bench, she must have left the area to walk further downstream. So regardless of whether she was taken or whether it's an intentional act, she had to have left the area most probably by the towpath. And what I can't work out is that no one saw her on the towpath or crossing the road. Nobody.
No, CCTV footage doesn't capture her. It doesn't. No. It's very odd. It is. That's why this is so intriguing to so many, because there's so many holes that aren't filled.
Yeah.
And the answers aren't coming.
So what do you guys? Let's go to the Emma.
Sonny, are you laughing at what I just said? I got it now.
No.
No, I think you were.
No, I
think you were.
CD, you should know me. I was squirrel. I wasn't even listening to the last thing you said.
No, I think you were. I think you were taking that in a perverted way. I got it.
I never go
I think
there.
you were. That was your mind that laughed. I think your mind heard it first before you did.
Alexa, what's your thoughts on what CD is saying there? Do you think?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Just kidding.
I was talking to my husband.
I got the most purest thoughts here. CD knows that.
Well, I mean, CD has a very beautiful toe point in those heels.
Actually, can I be right back?
Bumps go a long way.
In 1 second, I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
now she's leaving us. She doesn't want to answer.
No, I am telling you the truth. I didn't. I wasn't paying attention.
I'm kidding.
I'm so sorry. But I have to be back. 1 second. I'll leave you here.
But yeah, let's talk about Emma here, because so many people think that Emma and that Paul, have something going on. Like there's so many different things out there, a little bit, twists and turns to it all. And again, some people, I know that in the picture that, someone's saying that it's Emma, but in the video that it's, Nikki and stuff like that. And again, it's just like, it's kind of like most cases, right? Every little thing gets dissected,
To be honest,
because there isn't much. Because there hasn't been given much. Yeah, John, I'm sorry.
The CCTV to me doesn't look like any of them. I don't know why. To me, it doesn't look like Nicola or Emma to me. I don't know why, but I don't see.
It's grain. It's very grainy. It is. Those Ring cameras are meant to be getting the person's face at the door.
Right.
After 5 feet, it's useless. It's like a 20-year-old camera with distance.
Yeah,
to me, the wrench in any of the Emma Nicola switcheroo theory thing is you're not going to get a 6 and a 9-year-old to just go along with a lie like that. We know the girls were dropped off at school that morning. I know people are speculating that it could have been Emma. Those kids have no reason to lie, and they're going to crack under pressure. Their mom's gone. I mean, and so I'm that, to me that null and voids that entire theory right there.
That's very true. But I mean, were they even interviewed? I mean, the way this is going, I don't think they were interviewed. I got to be honest. I really don't think they were interviewed.
I mean, that could be, but I feel like somebody's talked to them, whether it be a law enforcement or a family member, somebody's
grandparents.
Yeah,
Emma,
I mean that's true. I just don't think law enforcement talk to anybody. They barely, they talk to Paul, and the people that supposedly found the stuff at the park, but not much else was done here.
Yeah. Jess, Emma
they treated this as she just was in the water. That's it.
Emma is a control. Emma does seem. I mean, I'm nothing against Emma, because some people might think I'm a control freak, but I am only when it comes to creativity. As for my husband and my life, good girl, I'm about control. To be honest with you, yeah. Or now, again, it's kind of like when it comes to creativity and doing certain things. Ever since I was younger, I love to create things. And I always feel if I want to do it, if I want it done right, how I want it, then I best do it myself. So when it comes to my creative side, I'm very creative. So I just kind of like to take control over that. But as for my actual life, I could give nothing about that part of it. I'm probably sucked. I have a twin sister that she's in that mode or mold or whatever you want to call it. Me, I'm just a YOLO type of person, to be honest. Other than that, but with when it comes to back to Emma on there, Jess, that is Nicola's best friend. And her face is kind of plastered everywhere. I don't even know what to say, because like we each have our own thoughts, and it's not to say that any of us are right, because we don't know the answers to what's going on here. What I'm just really what has disappointed me in this, and it's kind of like Delphi, is that there was so much that could have been done at the start, and they flubbered badly. And then they wanted to basically point fingers at Peter Falding. They wanted to poke fingers at, I want to say this one too, and I'm going to give a shout out to Curtis Media on this one. He's allowed me to use some of his footage. At first I got a copyright strike, and then he was like, oh, shoot, I didn't realize that was you. And so then he took it back off. So I want to say thank you for that. But, he did have great footage. Now, there is literally a news camera that is literally, like, I have the video actually right here on my thing, where Curtis and this news camera, they're in the same pretty much spot, but they have a better zoom lens. And this is literally from the opposite side, and it's stuff like that. I feel like that was so wrong that let me ask you about this one, John, because this one really did tick me off. Yeah. Is that whether or not people approve of, Curtis Media putting out the video from that side, showing Nicola there. Okay. That thing has more views. People become hypocrites. They sit there and they watch it, but then they are bashing because, we shouldn't be out there, but let me just watch it more, because people are curious. But what I want to say is this, is that, so he did that one where he went to the caravan, he walked in, him and his friend go in, right, and I kind of made a mock video of that as well. Yeah, and the grandson, that was fun.
Yeah.
But my point is that, so the cop guy is talking to him, and he's basically, going, everything you're doing here, there's, nothing you're doing is wrong, but it's all about, if you got to be respectful. And then as he proceeds to talk, then he like ups his game, like the copper guy, and says, I could give you basically, disturbance of the peace in a sense, or we could have you blocked from here, put an injunction on you. And guess what happens the next day? Okay, you're not doing anything wrong. So what gets me this, everyone in his chat on this live is responsible for their own actions and thoughts. So he's basically telling Curtis, look, this young boy, the grandson, Mr. Soft Lips there, is, basically you are obviously in control of that, Curtis, because you're causing him to talk like that. You're causing these people to whatever. No, everyone is in control of their own actions and thoughts. You would lose in a New York heartbeat, right, Alexa? New York heartbeat in the courts, because you were not responsible for other people's actions. So he's being told you're not breaking the law. And then look what happens, and he gets made an example of. What about the people that were on the other side from the news? What about all the other sleuths then? I just felt that regardless of what you feel about Curtis Media and the video that he put out, like I said, most people, I personally never seen it, to be honest with you. I personally never actually seen that video. Did you? Did any of you guys?
I did.
Did you? Okay.
I did. I got curious, and I wanted to see what the fuss was, so I did. I'm guilty.
Exactly. You know what? And I never have, to be honest. I didn't even, I heard about it. I never even bothered to look it up, to be honest with you. I kind of thought about it after, why people are so angry, but yet it has so many views. Don't be hypocrites, right? Don't be hypocrites. People love that type of footage. People love boots on the ground. That person doing boots on the ground is giving you some of the best footage, whether you agree with it or not. Regardless, they're giving you some of the best footage. And I love it when people do boots on the ground and they're literally taking you to those spots and they're trying to find out answers, And again, he took a lot of flack for this. But what do you think about how he said that, John? And the next
he reminds me of the British version of that guy who was doing the Idaho stuff. What's his name? That guy.
God.
Yeah. He's like a tame British version of him.
Yeah. Have you ever? I'm sorry. Have you ever looked at JLR?
Well, yeah, I've seen. Yeah, he's mad, isn't he? Back to that point. So, I mean, I think the policeman, the guy who was speaking to him on that occasion at a caravan park?
Yes.
I mean, what he was saying was ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree. We're going to sanction you because of other people's behaviour towards you. It's completely ridiculous. But I think that the whole point is that, and he let it slip. I'm fairly sure that the police officer said Lancashire police are getting pissed off with you. That's actually what he said to him. And I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? They're getting reports of, this person's here. They're getting wound up. But they know, really, they're kind of powerless because he's not breaking the law on the vast majority of the occasions that he's been there. He hasn't been trespassing. He's just been following the river and doing whatever. I think that they're kind of powerless, or they were, and they were looking for things to try and deter him. I think they gave him a ticket for his number plate or something as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to set an example. I think they wanted to lay down the law and they used him as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone doesn't know who Curtis Media is, please go check him out. I've done some videos, with his stuff, and it has his link. But you guys can just type in Curtis Media. It's a green and black icon, and I feel like that again. That they sit there and they point fingers, and that if you're not breaking the law, and what broke my heart was listening to him talk about what they did when they arrested him and his nan and his granddad. I talked to him on Messenger, okay, guys? And so I said to him again the other day, how is your nan and granddad doing? And he's like, not good. And this is what I think is unfair. He's told he's not breaking the law. Then instead of bringing those charges on him back in the 19th when it happened, if they had such an issue with it, they waited till that next day. And then they literally, according to his to Curtis and according to his granddad, who was talking with him about it the next day, how they acted was so incomprehensible for a phone, you guys, and a GoPro, when all they had to do.
The other thing I think that's sad about it as well is, as of yesterday, if you Google Nicola Bulley and you just hit news, at least in the U.S., the first 4 news articles were all about that, about Curtis. They were all about the guy getting arrested. So you really had to then filter through to actually get to substantive things about the case. And to me, that's I'm like, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I just want to give him a shout out because, again, agree or disagree. Again, I personally love boots on the ground, and I do feel like he was a target, like Peter Falding was a target as well, and I find that abuse of power myself when they're doing something like that. Now, when he did go in on the Friday of last week, they did call him in, and he thought, oh, well, what's going to happen to me now? But they actually basically said, hey, look, we watched your video, and if you have some issues or complaints, with what we heard, then, here's the process to file a complaint if what you're saying, happened. So he did kind of give kudos for that, because he thought he was going to get in more trouble, and then they were like,
The problem with all of this, though, Sonny, is the public's perception of all of this. Because not only have you got the bloody investigations of shambles, then you've got the commissioner coming out and saying the police were right all along before the cause of death has even been announced or an investigation has taken place. And now you've got someone arresting a social media person, or trying to get something to stick. It's like they just continue to make the situation worse for themselves at the end of the day. That's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, no wonder there's a review over that police department.
Well, there was before this happened. I think there was a report done, and they were ranked good, so not very good or exemplary in any category, and they needed improvement on, guess what, investigating crimes.
Yeah.
Right.
They
need Tobe Leatherby to fly over there and handle things.
I know, right? I know. At some point, I would love to do another live. Like I said, at some point, you guys, because we all cover Delphi. And stuff like that. Delphi, that's a case in itself. A bunch of
I'd love to come back anytime.
Yeah, Coburger as well. Okay, I mean, I don't want to keep you up too much longer. Let's say another 20 minutes. Can we go, guys?
Yeah.
Can we go another 20 minutes? Okay. Again, I know that those two aren't feeling well, and see, Dee and Alexa, just know that obviously you guys can drop out whenever. If you need to, because obviously.
No, I'm good. I want to read something because I was just searching some stuff while it was quiet over here. And John, did you know that they took the diving expert Peter Faulding? The NCA removed him as an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's another point on top of what I've just said with those other issues. That's another one, isn't it?
Very. I mean that's odd too. It's just
that's not fair because I mean, why? Because he didn't find her.
I think it's because he was quite scathing not scathing, but he was alluding to the fact that the police could have done more, or they were. He was basically
this is their job in a sense.
He was basically going against what they were saying, their hypothesis.
I do love straight up people. I do love that. I like people that are feisty and straight up. No kind of no crap kind of thing. Just just transparent, and you are who you are. You're not faking it. You're just. I always love that in somebody when they're just say it like it is.
Straight up.
It's straight up. Yeah.
Not being funny. I'd rather listen to Peter Faulding being straight and giving his opinion rather than Sally Riley at a press conference. Saying it's our hypothesis, but we've got no evidence. But like a whole convoluted story. I'd rather just listen to someone who, as you say, tells it as it is.
Agree.
Yeah. Sadly, in the and most people won't know this one, but sadly in the Suzanne Morphew case, which this was a mother that disappeared back in 2020 on Mother's Day. The husband. Okay, we just know the husband did it. Okay, bottom line is husband did it, and it's only because they can't find her, her body anywhere. But regardless, but Jeff Puckett was this, missing the teeth type of redneck guy, and he passed away. He ended up passing away yesterday, but he was just kind of like calling Barry Morphew out, and like he was just a straight up shooter, if you could understand what he was saying some of the time, but he was just a straight up shooter. And again, yes, he had some drug issues, substance issues, and whatever, and all that stuff, but I just, like I said, I like people who are like, I don't care if there's cameras in my face. I'm just here to be myself, to tell you exactly what my thoughts are, and I'm not hindered. So I like it when people are kind of like unfiltered in a sense.
It goes a long way though when they're factual and speaking the truth of what they know.
Well, that's what that's what I love about CD. That's what I love about Alexa. I love anyone that just has a straightforward, if people either like you or they don't sometimes, but I would just rather hear someone being straight up than someone pretending to be or talking in a way that's, more butt kissing, I like to call it, butt kissing the audience and stuff like that. Just be genuine and real. Call it like it is, how you see it. Doesn't mean you're right or whatever, but just, be you, and that's what I love. Right. Are you that way, John?
Because it's not fun to always be like, be like, oh, I disagree with everyone in the chat, but this is how I feel. But, you have to do it if that's how you feel.
It's the way it is, just the way it is.
Yeah. So let's just go around. John, we will start with you. What other topic would you like to bring up? that we haven't obviously, because there's more stuff we could, but
yeah,
Like
I'm just trying to think.
Bigfoot, anything?
yeah. Sorry,
We've only got 20 minutes.
I was just meaning with the case, like what other thing has stood out to you that's maybe rubbing you the wrong way, or something that you're thinking about? I don't know, whatever.
Let me just try and think. I would say we've covered the press conferences a little bit. Like I say, the thing that I keep going back to is the fact that there's a fair distance between where that bench is, where the gate is, and leaving the area. What I can't understand is how she has left that area, because even if it was an accident, as I said earlier, or it was intentional, she must surely have gone back down the towpath and crossed that road. So I can't understand why no dog walker has seen her and no car has caught her on dash cam. I don't know if you've seen how busy that road is between 9 and 10. It's like both sides, you know? I don't know how she's got where she is and managed to leave the area. I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you maybe put a picture? Do you have a picture, Sonny, maybe to show what he's speaking about? For
Yeah,
people that
sure.
don't know?
Yeah, if you bring the map one back up, it will give you a rough idea anyway.
Well, here, let me, even though I haven't finished it because I was working on my own.
Somebody like me that I don't know this.
I'll bring up Google Maps here. Just give me a second. That just makes it probably a little easier if I do that. Okay.
Sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the path, obviously, right here, the towpath.
So basically, if she has left the area, you see where it sort of turns at a right angle there, where it goes back over the bridge. There's actually another gate right opposite that road. So where the little hand is there's a gate that carries on the walking network further downstream. So it's
Was that where the second camera was supposed to be?
No, there's no cameras there at all. There's zero camera coverage.
Where were the two guys with the masks supposed to be?
Right, well, they're by the bridge or near the bridge. One of them was at least.
They were right somewhere right over there, right?
Yeah,
they were near this garage, weren't they, or something?
Well, I think one was near the bridge, and I don't know. I think they went to the garage to get CCTV or something.
Yeah, they did.
The nearest two cameras, I believe, there was one at that restaurant, like just north of the entrance, and then there was the one at the school. Those are the two closest cameras that I know of.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of the restaurant.
The only other way that I can see it being a possibility, if you could just go a bit closer towards the bench location. The only other way that I can see it being a possibility is if she went across the stile, whatever it's called, area, and then that's it, and then entered a little bit further closer to the weir, or after the weir, would it be? Yeah, so entered around there. That's the only. But then I think to myself, if you were doing that intentionally, people who are going across the bridge might see you. So I just don't think that you would choose that as a location. I just don't.
Well, John, just to ask you about that, because in Curtis Media's video, when he's talking to that older gentleman, he goes, you know how people are saying that the dog was going from the bench to the gate? That's not true. He said that it was going to that the dog was trying to get over the stile.
Yeah,
is what he said. So what do you think about that?
But I think the dog could actually get through that part, as far as I'm aware, because they took the dog back the next day and it struggled, but it got through there. And it makes you think, well, if she had have gone through that part and not the actual gate, maybe the dog could have just followed her. I don't know. But what my issue is, you see the pink line that you've got there, the towpath.
Yeah.
If she's left the area, how has no one seen her during that walk back to the road and across the road? That's what I can't get my head around.
Right. Especially in an area where they say everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so what do you think about, because Willow has been the center of a lot of this, to be honest with you, because Paul took him back the next day, he said. And he said that he was just maybe hoping for something, but he said he didn't get anything, that the dog, basically Willow just was like, play with me,
That's right.
He said he literally had that the dog Willow, that she had no reaction.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I've just remembered. So one of my biggest concerns was that I thought to myself, okay, right, maybe when they got there the first day when she went missing, maybe because the last sighting was on the upper, this is before I knew about the change in the timeline. I thought to myself, maybe they searched from the bench upstream from where her last known location was, the last eyewitness sighting. So then I went back and I checked all of the articles right from the very beginning, and it turns out that the very first day that she went missing, they searched 3 miles downstream. So how was she not see? How was she not found if they went 3 miles downstream on the first day?
Right.
Yeah.
They went 2 miles. They went 2 miles past where she was eventually discovered in the tree. So how did they not find her on the first day? Doesn't make any sense.
And according to Peter, he said, basically, if she fell in, she would have just basically went to the bottom right there.
Exactly. That's what would have happened. She would have just sunk, and because it's not moving hardly there at all, I cannot see for the life of me how she is it's some kind of accident in that location. I just can't see it.
I guess it just, what, is there anyone, there was a couple earlier, but just one again, is there anyone in here that just simply believes that it was an accident and she was overlooked and whatever, and they, buffled it up? Just one, if you think it was an accident. Is there anyone really that thinks in this chat right now that it was an accident? Just hit one.
Do we know the depth right where she went in? Do we know how deep it was?
So at the river's edge is 2 feet deep apparently, and then it goes deeper in the middle. But regardless of how
was it 10 feet, 12 feet? I mean,
wasn't it 12 feet from memory?
Well,
I might be wrong.
I'll tell you. The old guy and another fisherman, Curtis, said, both said it was 18 feet. I think Peter Falding said it was about 13 feet. I heard Michelle After Dark say it was about 10 feet. So let's just say about 13.
13. And what I'm getting when I search it, it said, he said they had finished their investigation yesterday afternoon at an extensive search of a 1 mile stretch of the river, which is 13 feet deep, close to where Nicola was last seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been said a few different ways, but let's just go. Yeah, it was 13 feet. Does that make a difference, to anybody?
Yeah. Surely, if it's
13 makes a big difference compared to 6. I mean,
But surely, even if it's 100 feet deep, if it's not moving and she's not going to move, and they've got people in the water within 3 hours, regardless of how deep it is, she's not going to go anywhere, is she?
True.
Martin,
that's my point.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you say it one more time, John? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Sorry, I said, even if it's 100 feet deep, the fact that where she fell in isn't moving, she's not going to go anywhere. The fact that they've got the divers in the water within 3 hours, it doesn't matter how deep it is, does it really?
And she was wearing a knee-length puffer jacket.
Yeah.
Like they're made to float.
Yeah, or anything she had in her pocket, her gloves, anything that she would have in her pockets.
Apparently they found the car keys by all accounts on her. So it's not like any bit of clothing came off, I don't suppose, or you just.
And wellies, I mean, they're water resistant as well.
I mean, for the life of me, I cannot see how they can have divers in the water within 3 hours, search 3 miles downstream, and yet particularly where the bench is, where if any sort of accident's taken place, the water's hardly moving. How do you not find someone if there's no current, there's no sort of tide at that stretch?
And there's no slide marks.
Exactly.
Sally always said there's no slide mark. There's nothing to show. There was literally nothing to show. Again, it's just absurd to me how they handled the start of this. Instantly it should have been. I mean, anyone that finds a phone and a dog by itself, okay, there's something up. Okay, that means it's not just, okay, if they think it was an accident, doesn't matter. You still would seal off the area, stop people from coming in until you found out, what was truly going on. And then, of course, if you, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Listen to what Peter said. Yeah. Peter said very early on, listen to this. Peter said, if Nicola slipped down the bank, she would have landed in about 2 feet of water, but onto rocks, and she could have stood up.
Yeah. Okay. What were you saying, John?
It's just odd. The whole thing is odd.
It is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if it's not an accident, then as I say, it just leaves us with how has she got out of that area unseen? And I just can't answer that question. I just can't answer it.
It is. Honestly, it's like a puzzle. It's like a riddle. Alexa, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Same thing. I mean, I don't understand how can if she didn't willingly, I'm thinking to myself, how can somebody unalive herself in such a shallow water? That's like the only problem I have with this story. I do think she unalive herself, but I'm thinking, how would she do it? You know, how, you know,
you don't have any disturbed area, on the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if she fell into the middle somehow, and she was able to crawl back, you would see disturbed ground. It's just odd.
Why leave your phone in a phone call though, guys? Why would the phone still be in a phone call? Like why would someone leave their phone in the call mode still? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it does. I mean, if you get into a psychotic, episode, I mean, those come out of nowhere. And you can be doing something normal and then it hits you and then you become a different person. So that's my only thing that I'm thinking is that she maybe got a psychotic episode. I don't know if she ever had one.
Yeah. Or did she just want to make it seem like, I don't know. Like
maybe what John was saying, that maybe she wanted to see it for insurance purposes or, that it was something more sinister.
It's, you know what? I hate mind bogglers. I like solving puzzles myself. Here, let's bring us back over here. I'm a puzzle solver. I like diving into things. I like trying to figure out like the answers if I can and stuff like that. Trying to use what is practical or what's kind of like like I said, she obviously. Some people are thinking, hold on. Some people don't even think that she actually went there. I'm gonna myself disagree.
Well, the thing is, Sonny. I mean, I'm starting to think to myself, what's the other explanations at this point? How the hell do we explain that she hasn't been seen? If she's left the area, how hasn't she been seen by anybody?
It's true.
Right.
That would be very difficult, and you would need a lot of money to disappear like that.
Well. At the time, remember, a lot of people thought that she was abducted in the upper field, over there where the gate was. Like that was a very strong thing because of the CCTV camera that somebody had probably turned it off, and that they had been watching her, and that in the upper field is where she disappeared. I remember that was a very strong thing at the start, and I'm just and I shouldn't say at the start because. As time went on, again, before her body was found, it was just going like seriously, there's nothing. Like they're saying they're not showing anything. They keep talking about it. Was frustrating. I was getting irritating listening to Sally Riley keep saying, well, we believe it's an accident. And then when they release the information, the personal stuff, then you're like, why would you do that? Even a no-brainer person would know that that's that you like, who cares if there's gossip out there? It's not their job to worry about the gossip of the crime sleuths, really, unless they're somehow, interfering in the actual investigation going around that crime scene or what's deemed as the area. But why were they so focused on what people were saying on the internet? No matter what case it is, doesn't matter if it's this one or Delphi or any other case, there's going to be people that are going to say, there's definitely channels out there that, have no compass of morals and stuff like that. Right. They just put out whatever. But meaning that's going to happen regardless. You're always going to have your kind of like your straight thinkers, critical thinkers. You're going to have your loony bins out there, and then you're going to have
like the TikToker in Idaho.
Yeah,
like you're going to get people like that.
You're always going to get this. So I just don't know why they kept.
And you're going to get people that just say things for clicks too. That are just
absolutely.
They don't even believe what they're putting out there, but they're just putting it out there to cause controversy.
Right. Yeah. But why did it elicit that response? I think that's what you're getting at, Sonny, isn't it? Why did it elicit that response when this is a kind of a normal thing? You discuss crime, people talk about crime, people visit crime scenes. It's not a bloody, uncommon thing. Yeah. But it made them react to that for some reason.
Yeah. And then that's why That's why they said they were putting out the information with, you know, about the alcohol, because the family, you know, because the family wanted to let it out there. But again, if you think that she's in the river and that she's, you know, her body's in there somewhere, why would you even need to? What did it matter? It didn't matter at all. And so it was just, you know, like I said, yeah, why were they so focused so much on seeming angry towards, you know, regardless, bad, it's kind of like celebrities. Bad news, good news, you know, it's getting publicity. And regardless, like I said, but why did they care enough if somebody was going to leak out something? Because again, unless they come out and say it, most people are just going to take it as either truth or rumors or anything. So who cares? It happens all the time.
I think they did it just to cover their backs. I think that was like the little card that it was just in case she wasn't there and she was able to run away. That was going to be the excuse. So they don't look like incompetent and bloody idiots kind of thing. So I think that was why they did that. I think that was the little, you know, just in case, you know, we don't find her in the water and she's found somewhere else. Oh yeah, because she is drinking and she's menopausal, you know, she left her house. So I think that's why they did that, just as an insurance card for themselves.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
All I think is they did a lot of pointing and they should have been blaming themselves.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. You know, exactly. They're pointing the finger.
And also the way they did it, because I mean, I understand saying, you know what, she had mental issues, and just with those words, you can understand but you don't need to say menopausal. I mean, that's almost like that's giving it a negative connotation. I don't know. I took it the wrong way. I'm like, you know, just because you're menopausal, it doesn't mean that you want to go on a life. You know what I mean? That's kind of like how I took it.
You're putting the unhinged female aspect to the
whole thing. Yeah,
because they didn't want any questions. They just wanted it. You know, this is what we got, and don't think, because this is what it is.
And then let's seal it off and say, oh,
and don't ask questions.
Yeah, and she's a girl too. So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I know we're going to wrap this up in a minute, but do you guys? So according to Emma, she didn't take the ball anymore with her. But yet that was one of the things at first that somehow, you know, again, that she tripped, you know, whatever. Do you guys ever believe that there was a ball there that Willow was playing with that day? You know, simplistic as that is.
If there was a ball there, it's not going to cause her to fall into 2 feet of water and then drown.
Right. Yeah. You got, you know, I don't even know what to say because my brain is so rattled too. Every day, you know, when you guys go to bed, right? You guys go to bed and then these dreams run through your head, these different things with whatever. And I'm sitting there in my head, I'm going, speak to me, Nicola. Tell me what happened. Just give me a sign, something, you know. But, you know, it's just because the brain hurts trying to think of the different things that would possibly, because it's such what should have been a simplistic case. Okay, her phone's on the bench. Okay, they found her. They found her the first day. But nope, they didn't even find her whatsoever. They literally had nothing to do with finding her whatsoever. All the, the high quality equipment, all this stuff, you know, and then it becomes about poof, poof, let's blame, you know, like that Sally Raleigh and the police are doing on people. And it should have been an open and closed case is what it seems like. And yet it's very, and I'm sorry to say it, but it's very intriguing. But I'm so sad that families, doesn't matter. My heart will always be for the families first. And as of their hearts breaking and the anguish and pain of what they're going through, that will always mean the most to me first, because that's always my first thought when somebody is found, is about the families and what they must be going through. And again, so answers for Nicola, prayers for Nicola.
Especially the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because regardless of how she or why she went in that water, those kids don't have their mom, and so there's not an easy solution to this for them. There's not a an easy answer to that.
Those girls, poor girls. Yeah.
And imagine them, watching the news with their father and hearing law enforcement say that basically your mother's a drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that
so
so angered me on that one, because like I said, you don't sit there and say that she's in the water and that's your hypothesis, and then you release that information. Like if looks could hurt, they would be definitely going right into Sally O'Reilly's eyes on that one. And why is it that it took to the 30th before she was even appointed, actually, instead of on the 27th?
No, it's yeah.
It's strange. Yeah.
The thing is that, like I say, very early on, they just didn't go down that route of securing the scene. And once it took 3 days to appoint someone higher up, and then maybe, even if that higher up person said, actually, we've got to be a bit more open-minded here, it's too late. You haven't, you've lost the evidence. The evidence long gone.
Right. Like I said, exactly. Anyways, we'll do final thoughts, and then I'll play the outro, and then we'll head on out of here, guys. So final thoughts, John, whatever you're working on, whatever it is that you want to say towards anything, whether you're working on something, it doesn't matter. Just
mainly just a huge thanks to people who have popped in. I've seen Ryan Harris, long-time viewer of my channel. So I just want to say a personal shout out to him. People who have joined from my channel, Crime Scene to Courtroom. Certainly want to do this again in the future, and obviously work more with CD and the other two guys. And really, I guess just I don't think this is going to go away just yet. I think there's still more to be heard in this case, trying to put pieces together. And I think in the future, maybe coming up with some ideas on how she could have left the area. That may be my next port of call in terms of videos, possibly. But as you touched upon earlier, just a fascinating case, all for the wrong reasons, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you want to pack us all over to your channel next time.
Do you know what? Earlier, I thought to myself, we could do a live stream on my channel, and I could, give people a shout out. I think maybe.
But I think the time we have to make it, you have to make it earlier, because that way you can get more.
When I did a live stream during the investigation, I think I had 3,000 live viewers. When
you did,
yeah,
it was crazy. Chat was exploding.
Yeah, and I only had 2 moderators as well.
Oh my god!
It was wild.
Living on the edge.
Yeah, but no. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Again, this channel personally loves. Let me put it this way: people that are kind, caring, and are genuine. We will always, we're thankful for the help out here. We've always helped. We'll always. Doesn't matter if we were 1 million subscribers. We will always stay the same. It just becomes about being genuine, and again, and helping each other out. That's what that's what people forget. It's just or just emailing them back and saying, no, sorry, I don't want to be on your channel, or something. It's something. But anyways,
I would love you guys on my channel. I'd love
absolutely
to do exactly the same thing as this on my channel. I'd love that. Definitely.
Absolutely. Just let us know. And absolutely.
We'll sort it out.
CD, what about you, buddy?
I think that when the autopsy finally comes out, maybe we'll get some closure on this. Was there water in her lungs or not?
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking that we're gonna have a yes because she was floating in the water, but we'll see.
How long was she in there?
I think. Well, yeah. It seems weeks. I mean, when body's floating, it's very hard to mimic that in that way. But it's just going to hopefully tell a story, and let's hope that this corrects law enforcement there to really shape up, because that's why this is, being questioned so much.
Right.
Let's see. I just want to make sure I did that.
Lock the crime scene down from the beginning, do it the right way, and cross everything off, make sure you got it all.
Right. Because even if it's not a crime scene, there should have been an investigation. You
have to, cordon off the area and figure it out. Exactly. Don't let people stomp on, what you're trying to figure out. That just doesn't make any sense. Now you're working backwards. You're not getting anything.
Yep. Exactly. Are you working
as
on
usual? It's a
anything?
good time hanging out with everybody. No,
Yeah,
I haven't been. I mean,
for you, I'm so
last month
sorry.
has been crazy here. You know.
Yeah,
No.
thank you for
Sick
having
now.
me too. I'm sorry, I haven't been very talkative, but
No,
You
I
guys
gotta
can't
say,
leave me.
usually you got me talking constantly, just
I
sucking
know.
wind over here with the
No.
strep throat. Sucks, but
Yeah,
like
I'm
my
just,
brain is mush.
you know, don't forget that I think John said that he wants the chicken to show up on his channel. I'm pretty sure that he
I
said
gotta
that.
find it. I don't know. It might be.
no,
It might
please.
be. It
What
might be
is
in her cage bed. It might be in
What
there.
is
You know
the
what he's
chicken?
Oh no, please no.
Watch last Friday's live. Was last Friday's live?
It's just
You'll
CD's
see the
obnoxious
chicken. The
cock.
chicken was just sitting right here. You know?
Right,
was-
okay.
Every now and then it would
Oh,
be
dog toy that he was squeaking. You know, chicken.
Brilliant.
And
A
so,
couple people didn't like it, but a lot of people actually liked the chicken.
A couple people
didn't
it
like
an
it.
appearance.
CD,
Yeah,
I need your
couple
wife
were
to get rid of it.
Deb loves it. Look at her. She loved the chicken. It was great. You know?
You're more than welcome
and-
to bring it onto my stream.
Yeah, we'll bring it on. Absolutely.
and you guys
Killing me
don't.
everywhere.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say
No,
in the description, of course, of the live is always the links to everything. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, if you want to check us out, whatever, just
TikTok,
go to
Instagram, wherever.
Hey, YouTube. No, just kidding. Don't make me put on my press hat. JLR.
Yeah.
JLR in the house.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm just gonna, you guys, I want to thank and I'll actually, Adam, you go ahead before me.
What do you want me to do?
You could
I want to say,
purple
say
hand.
thank you to Alexa.
I gotta find out about
CD.
your hand. What'd you get? Hair dye on your hands?
Oh yeah, it's purple. See that?
Wow. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I saw your thumb, and I'm like, did he hit himself with a hammer? I just saw the one finger.
No, yeah.
We got problems over
I've got
there.
purple fingers. So, but no, thank you, CD. Thank you, John. I'm glad that this worked out. I was really excited when you both agreed to it. And Alexa, thank you. I'm, glad you're back in the States and glad you're home.
Thank you.
And yeah, so thanks to everyone. Thank you, Deb. I was just going to say thanks to everyone that has donated tonight. Truly appreciate the support. Hopefully people from Crime Scene to Courtroom, John's channel, will stay with us because we do follow. I see the same cases going on. It was a pleasure. And thank you for, I know there was about 115, 20 new subscribers, so hopefully people that came over from the channel stick around with us. And
Please.
I wanted, go ahead.
I said, please do.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and I especially do want to thank you for doing this at such a. Are you a night owl, John? I'm going to take it that you're a night owl.
No, I'm not. I'm usually in bed by
you're
9
not.
o'clock.
He gets up. Listen,
I'm 37. I'm getting old.
Early. He goes to the gym. He's got a schedule. He's able to follow.
Yeah. That's basically it.
Not here.
That's basically
They
basically
tell you 2
it.
hours, and it's like
Life
4
of a
hours
bachelor.
later.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, chat. In there, like I said, hopefully sometime soon, maybe if John's up for it, he can bring us all over to his channel and do it again and talk again. Because I could sit here for we know we can pull off 4 hour lives.
The Delphi case. I would like his input on the Delphi case. That would be
Yeah, definitely up for that. Definitely.
Hello. Yep. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Please do hit the like and the share. And again, check out Aspen Connor. Okay. He has his own channel that links in the thing. Deb's True Crime Notebooks in the thing. Of course, you guys seen the link for John's channel, but that's also in the description of this video. And same with Analysis of a Crime with CD. So Alexa, she doesn't have a channel, guys. We held her hostage. We're like, no, Alexa, because if you get your own channel, then what? Yeah. No, just kidding. Anyways, you guys.
YouTube's full.
Yeah, YouTube is full. They're not accepting anymore. Yeah. So we're gonna head on out with our outro. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's been a great live. Truly appreciate it.
Make sure you guys all like it so that it boosts Sonny and Adam.
Yeah, and go subscribe.
Give it all a thumbs up.
Wait, stay for the you tell them, John.
Stay for the outro. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel.